Hi, my name is Fatih, and today I'm going to talk about Hattip, a runtime and platform-agnostic HTTP server framework. Now, why do we need another HTTP server framework? There are already dozens of them: Express, Koa, Festify, Happy, Polka, Hono, Nitro, and many, many more. Do we really need another one? Today, I'm going to try to convince you that yes, we do, at least for 4 reasons. And the first reason is that Hattip is compatible with all runtimes. Ryan Doll first introduced Node.js 14 years ago. It was met with a big round of applause at JSConf 2009, but people from other communities were skeptical. 14 years later, Node.js is maybe the most popular programming environment in the world, while the skeptics remain skeptical as they ride their Lambos to the next WordPress meetup or something. For many of us, Node.js is the primary way that we make a living. But server-side JavaScript isn't limited to Node.js anymore. There are serious contenders. Ryan Doll himself announced Dino 5 years ago. A few days before I recorded this talk, Bun version 1.0 was released. Another important area that non-Node JavaScript runtimes are leading is edge computing. While it's possible to run Node.js on the edge, there are lighter weight runtimes designed for the edge from the ground up, with very low cold start times like Cloudflare Workers, Fastly Compute at Edge, Dino Deploy, and Lagon. And none of these new JavaScript runtimes are 100% compatible with Node.js. Most don't even aim to be. Hattip is a write once, run anywhere kind of framework. It bridges the gaps between different runtimes and deployment platforms and provides a consistent programming interface. Currently, it supports Node, Dino, Bun, Cloudflare, Vercel, Netlify, AWS Lambda, Google Cloud Functions, Fastly, and Lagon. And it will easily support more in the future because it is based on web standards. As the JavaScript community, we've always been an anarchy. We don't like benevolent dictators for life. We don't believe in the one true way of doing things. We have dozens of frameworks and libraries for every single imaginable task, and the king changes every other week. But we do believe in standards. And every single one of these non-Node JavaScript runtimes is using the same standard for implementing HTTP servers, the Fetch API. The Fetch API provides a conceptually very simple interface. A fetch-based HTTP server is just a function that takes a request object and returns a response object, or a promise that resolves to one. Hattip is built entirely on top of that concept. Now, because it's a new project, you may think Hattip may suffer from a lack of ecosystem around it. That's not the case. The entire Fetch API ecosystem is available to Hattip. For example, Auth.js, a rebranding and rethinking of NextAuth, is built on the Fetch API. And as such, it's fully compatible with Hattip. Another good example is Yoga, a fully featured GraphQL service solution. It's also based on the Fetch API and fully compatible with Hattip. There are many, many more, and there will be even more because Fetch is the standard of the future. Further proof of this claim is that popular frameworks like SvelteKit and Astro also rely on the Fetch API to abstract away the differences between platforms. Standardization makes our jobs as developers easier. Imagine you didn't have to use 2 completely separate APIs in Next.js for edge middleware and API routes. It would cut the learning curve in half and would make it possible to copy and paste code between them. So for this reason, for platforms that are not based on the Fetch API, most notably Node.js, Hattip comes with efficient adapters and polyfills, which brings us to the next point. Hattip is highly performant. Node.js doesn't come with built-in support for server-side Fetch API. It does have experimental Fetch API support, but not for building servers. So Hattip comes with an adapter, but adapting between the Node API and the Fetch API comes with a performance penalty. So you might expect that Express, which is just a very thin layer on top of Node's native HTTP API, would easily outperform Hattip. Well, that's not the case. Hattip is actually faster than Express in many cases. But it does fall behind when pitted against more performance-focused frameworks like Fastify. Still, if your focus is raw performance, Hattip offers alternatives. For example, instead of using Node's built-in implementation, you can opt in for what VG node, a faster fetch implementation. You can also use the micro WebSockets adapter. It is the HTTP library that powers bun, but it also has node bindings. With these two in place, Hattip's performance is on par with Fastify or the built-in Node HTTP API. Hattip also comes with a very fast static file server. Since we're aiming first-class edge and serverless support, we should never forget about cold start times. Hattip's static server can optionally move the directory scanning phase to build time to reduce cold start times. It also allows it to be smaller because it doesn't need to include an MIME type database at runtime. Size is an important factor for edge computing. Another area where Hattip performs well is its form data parser. Hattip comes with a form data parser that gives you full control while still outperforming the built-in request.formData method on most platforms. For example, it is 5 to 10 times faster than the multi-part parser used by Remix's Fetch API runtime. In fact, to my knowledge, it is the fastest streaming multi-part parser for the Fetch API. Last but not least, Hattip enables you to tap into the performance advantages of Bun and Dino to the fullest. They can both use the Node HTTP API, but their native implementations are based on Fetch, and Hattip lets you use them directly without an adapter layer. In any case, Hattip's Node adapter takes special care to be compatible with Bun and Dino when they are using the Node HTTP API. Why is that important? Because Vite uses the Node HTTP API, and we want to be able to use Vite on Dino and Bun too. Well, Hattip is Vite friendly. Hattip was originally built as the server backbone of Rakkas, the Vite-powered React framework. So it has a very close relationship with Vite. Hattip doesn't require Vite. You can create bare-bones Hattip apps that have nothing to do with Vite or front-end development in general, but it does shine when combined with it. With Hattip's Vite plugin, you can build performance, standard-compliant, full-stack applications that you can deploy anywhere. It's kind of like using Rakkas or SvelteKit or Astro, but without the framework. You just give it a server entry and one or more client entries, and it just gets out of the way. It pairs especially well with Vite plugin SSR. The combination gives you a framework where you can retain full control with no fear of vendor lock-in. And that's the beauty of it. Say you want to move your edge functions from Cloudflare to Dino deploy and your API endpoints from AWS to Google Cloud Functions. With Hattip, you can do it by changing just a few lines of configuration. That's all I have for today. I hope I was able to pique your interest in Hattip. I intentionally didn't go into the details of the programming interface, but I think it suffices to say that it is both familiar and novel at the same time, and very easy to use. You can find more information on hattipjs.org. Thank you for listening and have a great conference.